The fastest that we've actually ever established an SMSF was in 7 days from receiving an application, having money in the account. It was by far our biggest record ever. If you want your fund set up quickly, then you definitely need to have all of your documentation or supporting documentation ready, being your ID, your tax file number, and your latest super statement. If you've got all of those, you'll make the job a lot easier for whoever's setting up your SMSF. Welcome to SMSF Insider, where we help busy professionals to gain financial independence using an SMSF. Hi, I'm Troy, founder of Blue Chip SMSF Services, and over the last 20 years, I've helped thousands of Aussies manage the complexities of self-managed super funds. And in this podcast, I'll answer your questions, break down the myths, so you can take charge of your financial freedom. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome to this edition of SMSF Insider, where we'll be talking about how fast can you set up your SMSF. So with Blue Chip, typically we'll have an entity name ready to go on a contract or ready to pass on to a client within 48 hours. And then, of course, the client will then need to they'll need to sign their trust documents. So we'll express post them out. Once they come back, we're then simply waiting on the funds to transfer. Normally, the biggest hold-up is the ATO just issuing the ABN number, and then, of course, existing super fund holding up the money, and is typically the reason rollovers take so long. But if you're just after an entity name, we can have that established pretty quickly, normally within 24 to 48 hours. If you're establishing your fund with an accountant or a planner that perhaps might not be doing this day in, day out, then it may take them a little bit longer. But when you're a client with someone who only specialises in that space, like Blue Chip, then certainly that's probably the reason why we do it so quickly. What things do you need to speed up your setting up your fund? Well, having all the documents ready. So having things like ID and is handy, and also your existing, one of your latest super statements is something that will certainly speed things up. What mistakes can you easily avoid? Well, just checking that all the information you have. One of the big ones is if you've got your existing super fund, if you've changed address or you've had a name change, just making sure that it matches your current address. You might have a maiden name perhaps still on an old statement. Just updating that with the super fund with your married name or your current name is a big one. But certainly addresses is another one. Just keeping your existing super fund up to date with your latest address, because when you're doing the rollovers, they'll want to see that those addresses match before they roll funds over into your SMSF. So that's a big one to think of when you're setting up your SMSF. Another one to be mindful of is your director ID. So what is a director ID? So every director of a company in Australia needs to have what's called a director identification number. And when you're establishing an SMSF, you've got a corporate trustee or a company as trustee, you essentially become a director of a company, and for that purpose, you need to have a director ID. So when you are setting up your SMSF, just check with whoever is setting up the fund for you. Just see if they are actually going to give you a hand and help you through that process of having a director ID, because you will need one. And but that is what is required. So just make sure that you get in touch and just make sure that someone's going to be able to help you through that process. So when we're talking about having an entity name, so if you're working with an advisor or you're working with somebody that requires or you're setting up your SMSF to purchase property, for example, you'll need to put an entity name on the contract, and so it is important that can be generated quickly so that you don't lose that property, and you have got an entity name to put on there. If you're waiting months on end for an entity name, then potentially that property or that asset is going to be sold to somebody else. So it is important in some situations where time is quite critical and you do need to have an entity name sooner rather than later. So that's the importance of having an entity name produced quickly. And the same goes with our other alternative assets like crypto, for example. You're wanting to set up an account with crypto, you're wanting to set up an account with your SMSF to purchase crypto, then you will need an entity name, or you'll need to set up the crypto account in the name of your SMSF. So having the ability to generate that entity name quickly, or the name of your SMSF quickly, can sometimes be quite important. So that's what I'm talking about when I say when I'm talking about is having an entity name. So when you are establishing a self-managed super fund, you can literally call the super fund anything you like, as long as that entity name hasn't already been taken. So have a chat to your advisor or SMSF specialist and around the name, what you want to call the fund. But I do stress that the name of your fund isn't correlated to your investment returns. So, but certainly reach out, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you and assist you in the name of your SMSF. If you have set up your SMSF and you want to change the name, there is a bit of a process and a cost involved. So try and get that one right up front to avoid those costs later on down the track. Just quickly, guys, if you're a busy professional, fed up with traditional super funds and overwhelmed by the setup of your SMSF, we can help. Book in a call with my team using the link in the show notes, and let's build your future on your terms. Now, back to the episode. The tax file number is probably the one that sort of typically that we wait on a lot, because not everyone has their TFN handy. They'll need to call their accountant or to get those details. But most of the like ID, most people have, or a super statement. But the tax file number can sometimes be one that not everyone has at hand straight away. So that can sometimes be one to make sure you get ready from the outset. You should already have a tax file number, but if you're already earning money in Australia, you should already been issued a tax file number. It's just you might not have it handy. You might not have it sitting in your phone, or have it handy. It might be something you need to track down. And sometimes that can take a little bit of time. So that's one we see quite a bit. So make sure you have your TFN handy when setting up your SMSF. So the fastest that we've actually ever established an SMSF was in 7 days from receiving an application, having money in the account. It was by far our biggest record ever. Typically, on average, it's about 30 days. I don't know anyone that's done it quicker than 7. That's money in the account, but certainly 4 to 5 weeks is typically the average. If it's taking any longer than that, it'll normally be your existing super fund holding up the funds and not releasing funds into your SMSF. If you've got all your documents handy, if you want your fund set up quickly, then you definitely need to have all of your documentation or supporting documentation ready, being your ID, your tax file number, and your latest super statement. If you've got all of those, you'll make the job a lot easier for whoever's setting up your SMSF. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of SMSF Insider. If you got value from this, make sure you subscribe so you never miss the strategies we share to help you take control of your financial future. Find us on socials at Blue Chip SMSF, or book a call with our team to see if we can help you.